Hey everybody, what's happening? Got another video for you. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about why we're here. Um, uh, Ultimately, I can sum it up in a nutshell. We're here to learn. And so, with that being said, I just want to let you know, first of all, I'm Skip McDonald. Not a professional anything really. I don't have any credentials as far as being a doctor or anything like that, so I don't have all the answers. Not that a doctor has all the answers, but I just like to give my 2 cents on life and the lessons we have to learn, I guess. And so, with that said, I've been thinking, why are we here? And what are the things we're supposed to learn? And ultimately, most of the things we learn, the most valuable lessons, it's like we learn them. They stem from the grieving process. So it all gets tied back to grief at some point or another. But so we're here to learn. That's our soul's purpose. This earth is just like a giant school, and it's one of the hardest ones to go through. But people always ask, why do bad things happen to good people and all that? These are all learning processes. I think it was Alan Watts or one of the philosophers that I've listened to that said, if you look at we're part of nature. If you look at nature like a drop of blood under a microscope, you'll see that there's all these little organisms and they're battling and the white blood cells are fighting off viruses and all this. If you look at it under a microscope, you'll see that there's just this giant turmoil going on. But it's necessary for the human to be healthy. So it's perfectly natural. And I think that same thing applies to if you back up and look at the whole Earth as a planet. There's all this turmoil going on. I mean, in everybody's daily lives, and they seem so critical, but at the same time, if you look at the planet, it's healthy. It's so all these things that we go through are all necessary. Why we're here. So that's why bad things happen to good people. That's why we go through life and learn all these things. And if you don't think you're part of nature and part of this whole learning process, I mean, it's real easy to see if you look at the things that you've learned in your life already. You look at a little kid. They have some little silly thing happen to them, and it's like the end of the world for them. It's like, but we look at it and go, man, you don't have a clue. If you think that's bad, kid, wait till wait till later or whatever. And so we once we learn these things, you just have to smile about them. I just remember one of the things that I learned. I was pretty young. I was probably, I don't know, 10 or so. Mosquito in here. It's crazy. It's almost winter and there's still mosquitoes. But I remember I was probably about 10 or so when I figured this out. I had an aunt that used to just tease the hell out of me. And she would just say things and do things just to get under my skin. And she did. It was effective. So I just, she'd have me so worked up every time. I'd ask my parents about it. Why did she do this to me? And they're like, well, I don't know. They didn't have an answer. Or maybe they did and I just wasn't listening. But anyway, I remember being at a family reunion and she was saying something to tease me or get under my skin again. And in a good way, in a playful way. She wasn't being at all, but I remember it clicked. And I was like, she's doing this just so I will react. She's saying these things and doing these things just so I'll freak out and get upset about it. So I was like, the light bulb came on. Like I smiled and I was like, okay, so fast forward next time I was around her and she started her little jabs and poking at me and doing things, like I said, in a fun way, but she ultimately was just trying to get me riled up. I just smiled like, I got you figured out. So that's the same thing that needs to happen on a daily when you've got things you need to figure out. When that dude pulls out in front of you, you immediately want to go, you know, good so and so, you know, instead just think to yourself, man, this guy's being an idiot. He's going to kill himself or me or somebody. You know, he's going to kill us all if he drives like a maniac. But I was just doing that same thing yesterday. Figured it out. Just smile. Dude pulls out in front of you. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can just smile and go, wow, you screwed up. And he'll be flipping you off and calling you every name in the book. That's okay, because he's trying to learn lessons his own way. We all have our own thing. You know, so this whole thing, it's all a part of nature. It's part of the process. You know, and you think, well, if school's so hard, if this school, the Earth, is so hard, why would anybody want to come here? But if you start thinking about that, your soul is eternal. So, you know, in the great scheme of things, eternity, you know, a billion years, and you're here for 75 years, 80 years. Some people are only here for 30 years, whatever, you know. Some people get out of here early. That just tells you that we're here for like a blink of an eye, man. So all of our relatives that are waiting on the other side for us to get done with this school, as soon as we get back there, they're going to be like, man, how was it? Oh, Mom, can't believe you went through it. I've heard it's really tough. And you're like, oh, yeah, it was really tough. They did just a lot of crazy stuff and chaos down there. But I'm glad I did it. But you weren't gone very long. In the grand scheme of the eternal afterlife, you weren't gone for very long at all, you know, a week or whatever. So that kind of explains why people would even want to come here. You learn all this stuff. You know, it's just crazy what we put ourselves through, and we get all worked up about some things. But if you can really keep it in perspective and tell yourself, it's all supposed to happen. You know, a lot of people pray for peace on earth, and I hope that happens someday. It shouldn't. It's not going to, um, because you learn things through strife. So now all the wars, I wish they would all end. You know, where millions of people are dying every day, but you're never going to, you know, there's always going to be people arguing. There's always going to be people making you mad or whatever. They're here to learn their way, and you're here to learn your way, you know. So you're always going to have that. But the wars, I wish they would stop for sure. Um, you know, and so with all that said, you know, like I said, we're all part of nature. You know, life is like a river. You can either fight the whole way down the river and try to get to the end as fast as you can. What's at the end of life? You know, we don't want to get there as fast as we can. Enjoy the journey. Go with the flow. Relax. You're going to run into some things along the way that's trip you up. It's all part of it, man. Just relax and you'll float right down the river and you'll end up in the same spot as those people that are struggling the whole way. You're going to end up in the same spot as those people that tried to swim as fast as they could downstream to, I'm going to get there first. Congratulations. Did you learn anything on the way? Because that's kind of what we're here for. You know, so that's kind of my take on it. So that's why I think, you know, you'll never have complete uh, peace on Earth. I think we can create a more peaceful Earth if we all figure out some things and start being kind to each other. You know, you look at like the news, man. You can watch the news. Like I've said before, I'm a doom scroller for sure. I watch YouTube constantly. I don't even watch the mainstream media at all. I don't watch the three channels I grew up with. I don't watch that stuff anymore. I watch YouTube. I feel like I can pick and choose what I really want to see. With, you know, and then there's that whole algorithm. They put things in front of you that they want you to see. So there's that. But even if you look on the news and so you pick a side, like there's this big, because right now there's all kinds of crap going on, which I'm sure I don't even want to get into it, because there's a whole left and right and the whole, who cares? They say left wing, right wing, they're all part of the same bird. Absolutely. And you can pick a side and you can get all worked up about it, but it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. It's just something that's supposed to happen, and we're supposed to learn from it. You should always ask yourself, could I be wrong? Could there be something going on more than meets the eye? Can I be tricked? Maybe that's what supposed to learn. That, man, I got tricked. I didn't even know. Um, and that goes with both sides. So, like I said, you can pick a side. You can get all worked up about it and get all emotional. And at the end of the day, you're just going to be wound up. So the trick is to learn something. Like I said, my aunt, when I finally figured out she's just teasing me to get me riled up. That's the same thing that's going on with the media and the news and the politics and all the crap that's going on in the world. They're getting you riled up. So at a certain point, you got to see this stuff going on and just smile. Go, I see you. This turmoil is going to happen no matter what anyway. I'm just here to figure out that I don't need to get worked up about it. I don't know. Tell me if I'm crazy. Tell me if you agree, disagree. Leave me a comment. Um, and hopefully you get some good out of some of these videos. I'm just going to keep making them. So anyway, have a good one, guys. Thanks.